Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, November the 26th, the day after Thanksgiving. It's good to have you with us, and I'm glad you joined us today, and hope yesterday was a good day for you. Now, we have Professor John Howe is with us. He is a book author. The book is called The Foolish Corner. Talk about money. Today, he came in and he said, let's talk about home bias investing. And I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about. I thought you meant something about investing with our home, but that's not it.
That's not it.
Okay.
So basically, the home bias in investing means that people within a country, since we're sitting in the United States, let's consider that the home country. So American investors tend to invest almost exclusively in American companies.
Okay,
so
what's wrong with that?
Okay, good question. So what's wrong with that is it ignores the benefits of diversification. So there's a lot of mathematics behind diversification, but the concept is very simple, and that is that I think we've all heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And so in the case of the home, what's generally called the home bias, it's putting all your eggs in the U.S. Basket. And the problem with that is that you can get some diversification benefits by investing in foreign countries, non-U.S. countries.
Okay, so you're not saying not to invest in the U.S., but diversification is important for the portfolio.
Boy, that is well put. You hit the nail right on the head.
Did I sound intelligent?
So, there are lots of baskets out there, so to speak, and don't put all your eggs in the U.S. basket. So if you do that, and this is when we look at people's actual portfolios, they are almost exclusively in their home country, for Americans in U.S. companies. And so they're missing something there. They're missing the benefits of diversification. And so that can make us, have less than optimal outcomes in terms of our investments. And so I think I think we can show that diversifying overseas makes a lot of sense. It reduces risk. That's what diversification is all about, without really sacrificing the returns over the long run anyway.
Now, is this something that should be done only through a financial advisor, or is this something you feel that people can just do on their own by checking the facts?
Well, I think people need to be to reflect about their own level of financial literacy, because it can be done on one's own. And in fact, I will mention there are kind of two financial investments that enable that. There are instruments called mutual funds, which gather, mutual pooling of money, and there are mutual funds that specialize in a variety of ways, but in overseas investing. And so one could do that on their own if they wanted to.
So if you're investing in a mutual fund that specializes in diversification, then you can say, well, I'm diversified and I'm doing it all on my own simply because you bought into that mutual fund.
That's true.
Diversifies.
And mutual funds you can see what they hold, like what percentage is in Australia, which is in the EU, and so forth. And they do differ across those. I think the one kind of caveat on mutual funds is you need to watch what are called the expense ratios, because they're a business and they're going to charge something, and international investing is a little bit more costly than domestic investing, but still an expense ratio should never be above 2% in an international mutual fund.
Mm-hmm. So, and probably that's where it would be good to talk to a financial advisor.
Well, I think so. And, it never hurts to have even a second set of eyes, even if you're pretty sure of what you're doing. There are also a more recent innovation is something called exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and they are a lot like mutual funds, but they trade on the stock exchange. They're like normal stocks. And there are ETFs also that specialize in international diversification, and they typically have pretty good, that is to say, low expense ratios.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And those are called ETFs.
ETFs, electronically traded funds.
Okay. All right, so we touched on the home bias. Anything else? We got about 2 minutes left. You want to deal with?
Well, I was gonna kind of explain, because I think some people are still going to be reluctant to do this. So I thought I might explain a little bit about why it exists. And so, for one, the first thing people will say about international investing is that it's risky. But if international investing is just a part of your portfolio, as the diversification argument suggests, you're actually reducing risk. You're not taking on risk. And so diversification reduces risk. It's not actually risky, in spite of the perception that people have that investing overseas is risky. There's also something called the familiarity bias, which almost describes itself, that we just feel more comfortable with things that we're familiar with. So we're familiar with, certain products, the U.S. products, and less so, foreign companies' products. But that doesn't really... Yeah, it might explain why we might be reluctant to invest overseas, but it doesn't suggest that we shouldn't invest overseas.
Right, and you really need to stay on top of what's going on. I tend to let things go. If I'm feeling comfortable with what I have and it's good return, I tend to just say, well, just let it stay there. But a good financial advisor will say, maybe we need to look at this from time to time and see what it's doing, and maybe you need to switch things around just a little bit.
I think in my book I argue that you should look at things at least quarterly, let's say, with the possibility of readjusting your portfolio on a maybe even yearly.
That's what Alex Labrunery says all the time.
There we go. Well, he and I are on the same page on that one. But,
yes, you need to look at it and see. I kind of like to sit back. Oh, this is doing really well. I'm going to leave it alone. Yeah, but you don't know what it's going to be doing 6 months from now. Maybe we should take a look at this and
right,
and
especially
it.
if one like U.S. stocks have grown to be a high percentage of your portfolio, you might want to reallocate to overseas, for example.
All right.
So that's a portfolio rebalancing question.
Are you covering this in the book, The Foolish Corner?
It is in the book, The Foolish Corner. Yep. Okay. And it is in my newsletter as well.
Okay.
So
the newsletter. How do people get the newsletter if they want?
It's on Substack. It's John Howe at Substack. And for those of you that are watching this, as opposed to listening on the radio, it's on the screen now.
Okay. So you can sign up for John Howe's newsletter at johnhowe.substack, substack.com. And what do you get with the newsletter?
You get a monthly newsletter that's free of charge.
And you're not
no
trying
obligation,
to sell anything.
No, I'm not selling anything at all. So
you just do it to have fun.
I do, because I like writing them.
Yeah,
I hope people like reading them.
Thank you very much, John.
Pleasure as always.
And I hope the holiday season is filled with joy for you and yours, and I hope 2022 is just around the corner.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Oh, we're going to be saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year before you know it, okay? Well, we're in the Christmas season right now. If there's something you'd like to hear or see, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me an email. That's pepperp@missouri.edu. And when you go out and about, be nice to each other and smile, okay?